Tonight, Minnie Kosasa and the late Sidney Kosasa, icons in the retail industry, will be the newest members inducted into the Hawaii Food Industry Association's Hall of Fame. Sidney and Minnie Kosasa are best known for establishing the ABC store chain of convenience stores. The first ABC store opened in 1964, but the chain of stores is part of a business evolution that traces across 3 generations to the early part of the 20th century. The Kosasa family's history in the retail business began with Japanese immigrants Morita and Mitsue Kosasa, who opened M. Kosasa Grocery and Butcher on 10th Avenue in Kaimuki in 1917. Shinji Kosasa, who later changed his name to Sidney, was born on December 20th, 1919, in a room above the grocery store. He had an older brother, Neil, who was born in 1918. Sidney's father, Morita Kosasa, came to Hawaii from Okuyama, Japan. His mother, Mitsue, also from Japan, was very well educated and became a teacher at a Japanese language school. Family history records Mitsue as the visionary who encouraged Sidney to become a pharmacist because drugstores made more than grocery stores. Throughout his life, Sidney looked up to his mother as a mentor and skillful businesswoman. Sidney attended Japanese language school after regular school hours and graduated from McKinley High School in 1938. He then left for California to attend Sacramento Junior College. While in Sacramento, Sidney boarded at the home of a Japanese family where he met his future wife, Minnie, who was in high school at the time. Sidney then joined his brother, Neil, at the University of California at Berkeley and entered pharmacy school. He earned his degree in 1942. At the same time, just following the attack on Pearl Harbor, Executive Order 9066 was issued ordering all West Coast residents of Japanese ancestry into internment camps. Sidney was sent to an internment camp near the Oregon border, as were many Japanese residents living in Sacramento at the time. There, Sidney and Minnie were reunited and were married in the internment camp in 1943. Upon their release later that year, Sidney was hired as a pharmacist in St. Louis, Missouri. A year after that, the couple returned to Hawaii, and Sidney worked at Benson Smith & Company drugstore, where he was promoted to store manager. In 1949, the Kosasas opened their own pharmacy, Kaimuki Pharmacy on Waialae Avenue. Sidney and Minnie put in 12 to 17-hour days. Minnie was born and raised in Sacramento and went to a junior college there. Her family had a wholesale produce company and trucked goods to markets. Although Sidney has gotten a lot of the recognition over the years for the success of ABC stores, credit must be given to Minnie as well. She worked side by side with her husband from day one and contributed a great deal to the growth of the family enterprises. Youngest son, Paul Kosasa, now CEO of ABC Stores, describes his mother as tough and at times stricter than his father. Minnie was a stickler for paying bills on time and managed money extremely well, down to the penny. And since she personally put the checks into the envelopes that went to their suppliers, she knew which ones were being paid the most and in turn knew which suppliers could give ABC better deals. Minnie was always kind and courteous, but she held people accountable for their actions, and her high ethical standards would not allow for dishonesty on anyone's part, a standard ABC Stores upholds still today.
While a lot of attention has been on my father, truly though, credit has to go to my mother because she worked in the business, she helped co-found our business. She did the books. There was a time when we couldn't pay employees where she had to wait till she got enough money in the cash register, and then she would take the money out of the cash register to pay the employees. But my father wasn't doing that, and my mother was doing all of that. So together they've really contributed a lot to the success of our company.
By 1959, Sidney and Minnie owned 8 drugstores. That same year, Hawaii became the 50th state. In 1960, tourism overtook the sugar and pineapple industries, and by 1962, land values in Waikiki were soaring. During this phase of Hawaii's growth, Sidney Kosasa attended a drugstore chain meeting in Miami, Florida. Sidney saw the parallels between Miami as a strong tourist destination and Hawaii as one that was developing. In 1964, the Kosasas opened their first ABC store on Kalakaua Avenue and Beach Walk. That year, tourist arrivals in Hawaii passed the 500,000 mark. By 1975, there were 7 ABC stores, 3 Thrifties, and a pharmacy in the Medical Arts Building on South King Street. But the momentum of the family business was decidedly shifting toward the convenience stores. And as profitability shifted toward the convenience stores, Kosasa was progressive enough to commit to a new direction. And by 1985, there were 27 ABC stores, including 2 on Maui. In the late 1980s, ABC caught on with the Japanese tourist market. The Kosasas closed the Thrifty stores in the 1990s, and ABC expanded to Guam in 1995 and about a year later to Saipan. By 2001, the ABC stores chain had grown to 60 locations, including expansion to Las Vegas. 35 locations were in Waikiki alone. Some may ask, why are there so many ABC stores, especially in Waikiki, where it seems like there's one on every block? It's because ABC's business is convenience, and the Kosasas wanted to make it as convenient as possible for their customers.
Mr. Kosasa and Mrs. K is so deserving of this honor. Their passion for the business that rubbed off on every one of us, and his passion for people, his passion for hard work, and his passion for fairness, and the value of treating employees with dignity and respect, because to them, their employees are the most important things. You know, I tell you, the reason why I've been here for 38 years is because Mr. K, Mrs. K, Paul, I mean, they treat their employees and executives as if they're family. When we're successful, it's always been that we all reap the benefits, every one of us. And with that comes the feeling of belonging. The Kosasa family treats you with dignity and respect. And, yeah, I've been blessed. I've been blessed.
The Kosasas weren't only about business, but about values. Full-time employees make up 80% of the company, which is unusual for this type of business. ABC gives full benefits, including money for retirement.
He always remained the same individual. You know, he's such a quiet person in so many ways, being very successful and not showing how successful he was, and not boasting or bragging about it, and not changing at all. But I think the success also is what he leaves behind. And it's not what the accomplishment that he leaves behind, but it's the children. That must mean a great deal to him. I think those are the measures of the success of an individual.
Part of the culture Sidney and Minnie imparted to ABC stores is to take care of employees because they take care of the customers. The Kosasas were always humble and down to earth. Sidney, who always opened meetings with appreciation for his employees, treated everyone with dignity and respect. Besides being extraordinary entrepreneurs, the Kosasas were very involved in the community. Sidney served as president of the Retail Merchants of Hawaii and president of the Kuakini Health System. He was an active member of the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and served as its president from 1972 to 1975.
Mr. Kosasa, Sidney, and his wife, Minnie, have done a lot in giving back to the community of Palolo Valley and Kaimiki. But the focus of Mr. Kosasa and Minnie was basically helping families from M&S, Thrifty Drugs to ABC stores. His contributions are enormous. To find the person that emulates Mr. Kosasa would be awfully difficult because it did take a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. He was a man of stature, a man that was very quiet spoken, and a man that gave back a lot in other ways that you can never count on. Minnie was the backbone. When I think when Mr. Kosasa had to make some tough decisions, he would consult and confide with his wife. To the Kosasa family, the sons and the daughters, congratulations for allowing your mother and father to be a social fabric of our community. And their vision of what they have today is really benefiting the people of the state of Hawaii.
The Kosasa family continues to share their success by giving back to the community via the Kosasa Foundation, a nonprofit charitable organization which generously supports community at-large causes and projects like the University of Hawaii's Cancer Research Center in Kaka'ako and the launching of the Richardson School of Law Korematsu Professorship.
You know, when I was growing up in the company, I was too young, too immature to understand what lessons my parents were trying to teach me. But what I learned was that it's important to be happy in what you do, because if you're not happy, and most of your time is spent at work, and if you're not happy at work, then you're not contributing back to our community, and it's unfair for the employees, it's unfair for customers, and it finally sunk into me just maybe a few years ago that happiness is the end game.
Today, there are 77 stores in all, and although Sidney Kosasa passed away in November of 2006 at 86 years of age, his legacy lives on under the advisory of his wife, Minnie Kosasa. Minnie served as vice president and treasurer throughout the business's drugstore years and has served on the board a total of 63 years. She took the helm as chairperson when Sidney passed away and remains chairman of the board today. The story of Sidney and Minnie Kosasa can be seen as the evolution of a successful business, but it all really adds up to much, much more. Tonight, we warmly welcome Sidney and Minnie Kosasa to the Hawaii Food Industry Association's Hall of Fame.